Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of the Shameless Freedom Podcast. And today, I want to share a little bit more about an experience that I had recently with facing a fear and how it has totally allowed me to embody a new level of myself. So, one of the things that I think is really important when we are doing identity work and changing things about ourselves is to not only do something in the mind, right? It's important for us to have our affirmations and repetitions. And at the same time, the body still needs to catch up to us and feel safe with this new level of belief system and structure. So, something that I did recently was I actually got my very first tattoo. I'll just show you guys over here. Now, here's the thing. Um, I am deathly afraid of needles. I joke around and say I'd rather give birth than get stuck by a needle. So this is something that I did not do lightly. And what's fascinating is I actually had two opportunities earlier this year that people were offering the opportunity to go and get tattoos. And I was like, yeah, hell no, not me. I always thought it was kind of cool, but at the same time, it wasn't something that I was like, yeah, sign me up for. If I was going to do it, it had to be meaningful, right? And back in October, an opportunity arose, and all of a sudden, I could feel this desire in myself of wanting to do this, but not because everybody else was, right? Although that was inspiration, but I really truly felt in my body that this was something that I wanted to do. So, you guys may have heard the I am the sky story. I have been living that mantra probably since about the April timeframe. And the story behind it really is all about releasing what I will call this breadwinner identity. So I have always been the breadwinner in my family. Even when I was married, I was the primary source of income. So I was the person who was always in charge, making the money, making the decisions, doing everything for the family. And as a result, I have taken on, I'll say, this masculine protective energy of being the one to provide for all of my boys. And what I realized is that I actually was wearing this as a badge of honor. And it has really been I don't want to say a disservice. It, when you do things in your life, they are there for a reason, right? And nothing I did in the past was wrong, bad, dirty, shameful, whatever. It was what it was. And it was the safety mechanism that allowed me to survive and provide for all my children. But yet at the same time, I let this identity take over. And not in a healthy way, now that I have grown so much in my own essence, in my own feminine power. And there was a experience that happened with my son and a mama bird and two baby birds. And I remember the day that the baby bird was sitting on my son's hockey bag and wouldn't fly. And I really thought the bird was going to die because it wasn't going to fly. And of course, what does every mom do? Think, oh my gosh, right? Like that's my kid. Like, oh shit, my kid can't fly. What am I going to do? So there's some deep meaning, behind all of this. And then I started thinking about the mama bird, left the baby bird alone, and 2 days later, the baby bird actually flew away. So this whole mantra was, I'm not just the mama bird. I am the sky. right? I am the power and presence of God. I am this grounded space that my children need from me. They don't need me to make decisions for them. They don't need me to butt in. They don't need me to fix, save, whatever we want to do as parents, right? Like anyone who is a parent out there who is listening knows what I'm talking about. We want our children so badly to not make the same mistakes that we did, that many times we come off as we think we're helping, when in actuality, we're not. We are actually pushing them away. We are emasculating our own children by not trusting that they can do these things on their own. And again, we look at it that we are loving, we are caring, we just want to help. And that's not how it comes across, even though you think that that is the reason you're doing it. But the truth of the matter is, deep down inside our souls, right? We don't want our children to go through the same mistakes that we have, but yet at the same time, it's also easier to focus on our kids and how we can help them, as opposed to focusing on ourselves and what do we need to do? What what can we be curious about healing? What can we be curious about stepping into the fullest truth of who we are, as opposed to focusing on our children all the time? And that's why this tattoo is so meaningful for me, because it is a reminder of ingraining that phrase of I am the sky into my being, so that it is releasing the desire, the need to feel like I'm the breadwinner and I'm the one who provides. Because at the end of the day, God is always behind us and supporting us in anything and everything that we do. And you can know that at an intellectual level, but to know that in an embodied level is something completely different. And that's the journey that I had in regards to this experience, because I like to have what I would call rituals of some sort when there is a big shift that is happening in my life. I mean, you may have had experience where you may have let someone go out of your life and did a candle burning ritual, or wrote a letter and burned it, or had someone witness you. I mean, this is one of the reasons why, years ago, people like took their bras, put them in the fire pit, right? Like it actually is a ritual of letting go of something that's no longer serving and opening up space and ingraining something new. And it's interesting because I actually did this when I started healing my sexuality as well too. I can remember feeling so ashamed that at 40 something years old, I didn't really know much about my own body, my own sexuality, my own pleasure, etc. And I can remember just feeling shame and embarrassment. And I was so tired of feeling this icky, I'll call it, feeling in regards to how I felt about my body and my sexuality. And I chose one day that that was going to shift. And what's interesting is I had an experience where, and I tell this story all the time, I laughed, I peed, I cried, like, and just laid on the floor all at once and was like, I'm done. And I remember posting about it, and there were like 100 plus women that commented and said, Oh my God, thank you for saying in words what I didn't know that I needed to say. And wow, I hope I can feel that way one day. And other women going, yes, I get it. I know where you're at. Keep going, right? I was like, wow, okay, this is really cool. Like, there is something here to this. And that's when I decided I was going to go and get a Brazilian bikini wax and literally rip away all of the shame and the embarrassment and whatever there was that had to do about that part of my body and what it meant to me as a woman. And I'm not telling you that you should all go do this. I'm sharing it as an example because for me, doing something like that allowed me to make a choice. But it was also telling my body there's a shift happening, right? And it's bringing the body along with the mind. I think a lot of times what happens is we say affirmations, we do things, but the body has not caught up. And just because you say something doesn't mean that the body and at its cellular level and your nervous system has caught up. These are some of the challenges that we have, right? This is why we are not always in congruence with who we are and what we want because we're in this wobble state, right? Your affirmations might be here, but your body might be here and you have a gap. And when I did that with my sexuality, I then allowed the mind and the body to be at the same level with each other. And that's the same thing that I did with this whole breadwinner, I am the sky of doing something that was completely not normal, right? There are rituals that you can do like over and over again, like cutting cords and or writing letters, burning them, burning bras, right? That type of thing. And those are very, very powerful. But when you have a really huge shift, like doing something you've never done before, where you're facing a fear at the same time where you're shifting your identity. Let's just say when I think about the whole sexuality thing, like I never had a bikini max before. I didn't know what I was doing, right? I mean, I knew the person who was going to take care of me was fine with it, but it was like scary to make the decision to go and do that, right? Same thing with this whole tattoo experience was being afraid and scared of having needles poked in my body when I'm deathly afraid of them. Now, I have to say it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And those people that have had tattoos are probably like, it's not that big of a deal, Jen. But we all have things that we are afraid of, that we fear. And there's no right or wrong in what it is that we are all feeling. It is acknowledging and honoring a person for where they are and what their feelings are in regards to a particular situation. And in this case, it was the tattoo. But at the same time, what I thought was really cool too is to experience the desire being greater than the fear. And that's really big. I think a lot of times we want something, but the fear is so heavy. There's so much underneath the fear that it holds us back. But the journey and the work that I did between first identifying and naming the breadwinner belief system and the I am the sky mantra, right? I didn't say in June I was getting a tattoo. Hell no. My brain and body were not ready. They were not anywhere in sync to do that. There needed to be time built up, but then when it came, it was so ripe and ready. And this is something that we as women need to understand. We need to be able to listen to our bodies and know when something is right and when something doesn't feel right. And to be honest, the second opportunity for the tattoo actually happened, I'm going to say about a month or two after the I am the sky mantra. And a very dear friend of mine said, "Hey, do you want to go get a tattoo?" And I was like, "You crazy?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like, I kind of want to, but I'm not really there yet." And I think it's so important for us to recognize those signs because I could have said yes back in the May, June timeframe. And a lot of times, sometimes we push ourselves. We push and or force something to happen because of peer pressure or whatever. And sometimes those things do catapult us and push us forward faster. But you also have to feel into your body, into where are you at? There's a beautiful song by Karen Drucker called Gentle with Myself. And there's a phrase in the song that says, "I will only go as far as the safest part of me feels safe to go." And it is so important to live by, right? If there's a part of you that's not feeling safe to move, then maybe it's not time to move yet. You may need to give it a little time, whatever it is, but is this slow process. And when you are ready, you know. Now, here's the thing. It's kind of like with having a baby, you're not always going to be ready. However, with this, I was in a prime space of being scared, running into bumps in the road. I mean, it wasn't all complete smooth sailing. There were a couple of strange things that happened along the way, but it was extremely powerful. And I knew that this was something that I needed and wanted for me to embody this belief into my being, into every cell of my being. And what's really cool too, and I haven't really shared this publicly, but the I am the sky actually has four words in it. And I have four boys. And a friend basically said, "Hey, Jen, why don't you get all of your boys to write out a word? And then that could be part of your tattoo," which just adds even more meaning to it. And I thought, that's really cool, but I have four boys. Like, boys' handwriting typically stinks. You know what I mean? I don't know. There are some that are really good, right? And others that it's kind of a little crazy. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna go with the flow. I'm gonna text each of my boys. I didn't tell them what I was doing. And I just said, "Can you actually write on a piece of paper, 'I am this guy,' and text it to me today?" And three of the four did. And I was like, okay. So I took some of the words and I was like, okay, what am I gonna do with this? Is there usable components, right? And I found some musical components, which was good. And then I had one straggler child who refused to actually send me anything. And it was like, "You've got to be kidding me. Like, what the heck?" And I asked one of his other brothers to be like, "Okay, can you go bug him and ask him to please just send me a text?" So he proceeds to send a message that is sloppily written, and it says, "Andy is a bitch." I'm like, "Can't you write 'I am the sky'?" No, and won't answer me. I am just like, okay, here we go. I want to have all four of my boys as a part of this experience. I can't have three out of the four. It doesn't feel right. So he completely refused and said, "I won't do it." And I was like, all right, so how do I improvise? Right? I'm not gonna not do this. It feels right. How can I honor my son and where he is and who he is and have him still be a part of the experience? And you probably can, yeah, you can't tell by looking at my arm. But at the end of the, oh, you can't really see it. Okay. At the end, there's kind of a comma period, whatever you want to call it. So I actually went and I took the I off of bitch, which who knows, maybe there's actually some significance to that as well, too, if I think about masculine energy, breadwinner, etc., like letting go of the whole bitchy mentality or of, people calling me that or whatever. But I took the I off a bitch and then I made it as a little period at the end so that all of my children were a part of it. And I wrote one of the words as well, too. So it's really cool to be able to have this anchoring in myself in a new kind of way. Now, I'm not encouraging everybody to go out there and get tattoos, right? Um, but what I am sharing is finding something that is meaningful and impactful to you when you are moving through and reclaiming different parts of who you are, because it allows your body to physically catch up with the mind. If we don't do something physically in our bodies, a lot of times what happens is our minds keep going and the body does not know how to catch up. But when you're able to allow them to be on the same playing field, you can then live at that level and then decide that you're going to then take on whatever that next thing is. So I hope that this has inspired you in one way or another. And also, if you are a mom listening, I really want you to think about the whole concept of I'm not just the mama bird, I'm the sky. And where are you being the sky to your children? And where are you being the mama bird? And really seriously feel into that. Because I can tell you, there were two of my kids that I was being the sky for, and two I was being the mama bird. I had another friend say the same thing. Oh my gosh, I'm the sky to one, but I'm the mama bird to the other. Holy crap. Like, what can I do to move through that? How can I, first of all, recognize where I'm being the mama bird, thinking I'm helping, but I'm really enabling and emasculating? And how can I have awareness to that? But then also step into healing that and growing into being that sky, being that grounded presence that your children truly need. And if you are ready to dive into learning how to do that in your life, I invite you to check out my Intimacy Redefined program that will be launching after this year. And you will be able to learn so many things about yourself, your relationship with your children, your relationship with your partner, your relationship with your clients, the people that you work with, your friends, etc. How to show up as that grounded, present, authentic, powerful version of yourself.